Welcome back, guys. Now Zwift invited us down to their London HQ to see how pro team Canyon Eisberg are using Zwift to prepare for the UK's biggest bike race, the Tour of Britain. We're here, this stuff's all getting set up. Let's go take a look. Now, as a continental level team, Canyon Eisberg simply don't have the same budget as the likes of World Tour teams Team Sky and BMC, who they'll be lining up against at the Tour of Britain. That means fancy training camps in Mallorca and Tenerife are off the table, so the British outfit has to think more creatively to get the maximum out of the training time available to them. Enter virtual reality cycling platform Zwift. So how are Canyon Eisberg using Zwift? Let's first get some insight from the riders themselves.
I've made a name for myself in Zwift. Like I went to the CVR World Cup last year in France, live arena, 10 or 20 riders, all racing for money really. So it was quite an interesting experience.
I just think because it's so hard, because the only way to ride the turbo is by doing a hard session, because that's how you get the most out of it.
You know, you can just hop on that anytime, or you can get on it the first thing in the morning. Living in London, roads aren't very good around here, so always good to get on Zwift for that. It's better than trying to, you know, ride through the town and stuff like that. So.
Race wins really, that's all it is. Yeah, nothing really race power-wise or anything, just go as hard as you can, see if you can drop someone.
But Zwift makes it manageable in a sense, because you're looking at the screen, you're riding with other people, it just makes time go a bit quicker and the suffering seems a bit easier.
Yeah, full gas, you make sure you hit the right spot where to attack and see how long you can hold on for really.
So when there's some rainy days or in the winter, it's really useful when the road's usually crap in the UK and you can't get away, then it's a really useful training tool in that sense, yeah.
I haven't done a lot of racing on Zwift, to be fair. For me, everything I've been doing has just been purely sort of structured. I've had to do a lot of hours, a lot of bulk on Zwift, so I've been doing sort of 15, 16 hour weeks on the turbo.
I quite enjoy the races. My little brother got me into that. He's been doing the races. He does a lot of that in the winter.
Personally, I don't like bike riding. I love racing, you know. So doing stuff on the turbo for me is it's a really concentrated version of what I would be doing on the road. So whatever I do on the turbo can, take me 2/3 of the time of what I might need to do on the road.
Now at Zwift's London HQ, we joined up with the team on a training session devised specifically for them by Director Sportif Tim Elverson to prepare for the punchy stages at the Tour of Britain. By using Zwift, Tim is able to create highly structured workouts for his riders based on power zones. A typical hour-long session, Tim always likes to limit turbo sessions to an hour, might include 18 or so intervals ranging from 30 seconds to 5 minutes in length, each in a different power zone. These would include a mixture of tempo, sweet spot, threshold and sprint efforts to really test the riders. But Tim, what would your Tour of Britain Zwift session actually look like?
I mean, we work on 6 zones on the guys that I look after, and it would just be a combination of, zone 5 and 4 and 3 tapered to develop what we think they're going to have to do to actually be in a break, and there might be 1 minute efforts that drop into FTP efforts for 10 minutes, because ultimately you're going to attack into a break and then have to hold a high effort until the break establishes. So we have repeat versions of that.
What about Zwift more generally then? How does Tim's team use it?
The last 4 years I've been using it as a real balanced part of my guys' training. I coach a lot of the riders on the team, and we use the specifics on the turbo because you can really it's controllable. I tend to spend all our money on going to bike races, which is where I think you learn the most. But it's still important to connect together as a squad if they're training towards a race and get some specifics. So by using Zwift, we've been able to get that togetherness and get some specifics, whilst maybe being split around the country and not including a load of travel costs, and in some cases abroad, etc. One thing we have found in the more recent ones, sort of the camaraderie it's developed within the guys. They're all suffering together. I mean, obviously giving each other a kick in like they do out on the road, and that still replicates. And I think through the winter, I think it will really help with a bit of the team bonding.
As you would expect, it's important for the pros to make sure their training resembles racing conditions as closely as possible, so keeping your indoor setup consistent with your outdoor setup is also crucial.
We'd have 2 bikes literally set up identical, and then obviously the benefit of this stuff is you're literally taking a bike you'd ride every day and just putting it on the turbo, so nothing changes.
But if you don't practice it, and then you're suddenly in a different position in the race, it's almost irrelevant. I mean, it's not irrelevant because your legs are doing it, but it's not the same. You need to be on your bike, you need to have the same saddle, you need to have the same handlebars.
So that's the word from the pros, but what about the guys at Zwift? Let's hear how they're working with the pros to help them prepare for the big races.
Yeah, so we've got some really good engagement from the pros. We've got over 200 World Tour pros who use it regularly. And with our new course, Innsbruck, that's the World Championships course for this year. So we're seeing lots of pros going out using it to get a kind of an early sighter of what will be a really tough course this year.
Yeah, nice. So we're obviously down here with Canyon Eisberg as they prep for the Tour of Britain. How are they sort of implementing it into their training plan, coming up to a big race like the Tour of Britain?
Yeah, so it enables someone like Tim, their kind of team manager, to prescribe them sessions from wherever they are. So a lot of these boys will train from home and kind of meet up for races and things like that. And it means that Tim can prescribe them a really kind of specific session that they can get done, rain or shine, no matter what the kind of conditions are, and get a really good focused quality session in. And they can ride online with other teammates, with other people around the world, and really hammer those sessions.
So that's the lowdown on how Canyon Eisberg are using Zwift to train for the big races. What's interesting is how integral virtual reality turbo training has become to the pros. As Tim says, it's the perfect supplement to the longer miles his riders do out on the road, as it allows them to undertake highly specific, structured workouts tailored to the type of racing the team has got coming up, as well as each individual rider. So let's give the boss the final word. Any advice for someone looking to get into Zwift, Tim?
If you're a rider that doesn't get on the turbo because you find the turbo monotonous or feel you can't sit there and suffer, you've really got to try Zwift, because it is completely different to just being on a turbo. You do get wrapped up in the moment, and you do get wrapped up in the race, and I think it will allow you to do something that you maybe didn't think you were capable of doing and didn't think that you wanted to do. But you can really, really help your training go through the roof with some specifics and a constant efforts on Zwift. I think I wish it existed back when I was doing it. It's a game changer for me.